Whether on the TV or on the internet, we've all watched a caterpillar transform into a butterfly, or the sun set then rise in the matter of a few minutes. It's fascinating to watch a process that usually takes hours or days occur in a fraction of the time. This technique is called time-lapsing and is a relatively new technique that was made possible by this man, a scientist named Dr. John Nash Ott. Dr. Ott's early career was not that of a photographer and scientist, but a very successful banker. However, Ott had a peculiar hobby when he was out of the bank, capturing changes in a plant's life cycle through the use of photography. This hobby caught the attention of the public surrounding Ott, and because of public pressure he left banking and became a scientist. In his newfound career, Ott began to photograph the growth of plants over time, a form of time-lapse photography. Ott's work was so famous that he was even sought out by different governments to assist in crop studies. Today, time-lapse technique is used to document changes over time both in science and in everyday life. Through the use of time-lapse photography, Ott was able to capture the growth of plants over time, which allowed for detailed studies of plant growth and development. In order to do so, he set up many cameras at many different angles, exposures, etc., which allowed him to capture the growth of different plants. These photos were put together to form films, many of which Ott published, which were some of the first modern-day films.
Hello, I'm John Ott, and I would like to show you the time-lapse greenhouse where I make time-lapse pictures of flowers growing. Here is a time-lapse picture of an iris, which is a nocturnal or night-blooming flower. This is a hibiscus, which blooms during the daytime. And here is a camellia that blooms according to a relationship between temperature and the dark nighttime period.
Ott's work has had massive impacts on both scientific research and the film industry today. Scientifically, Ott discovered and solidified many ideas about plant growth and light, and even discovered connections between human psychological behavior and natural light exposure. Ott found that artificial light does not support healthy plant growth, but instead, that artificial light can cause seeds to produce either all male or all female plants. Thus, Ott determined that plants can only grow healthy and naturally with natural light exposure. Ott's most famous invention was the Ott bulb, which was the first full-spectrum fluorescent tube. This bulb used very similar light wavelengths as that of natural light, which Ott proved to have a beneficial effect on human health. Although time-lapse with plants was Ott's major contribution to science, he also studied animal cells and the human body. Many of Ott's discoveries regarding animal cells were discovered first through experiments with lab mice. Here, the mice on the left are being exposed to only an unshielded television set, which produces low-level electromagnetic radiation, where the mice on the right are being exposed to natural light. This particular experiment showed that hyperactivity could be a result of exposure to only certain wavelengths of light. Ott discovered that natural light was necessary for healthy human and animal psychological development, and that natural light could play a role in curing some mental disorders. Ott also studied how natural light affects vitamin D synthesis in humans and animals. In order to emulate Ott's work, I created an homage that used time-lapse to record the decomposition of a melting ice cube. I set up an experiment where a picture was taken of the ice cube from the same angle every 5 minutes. This relates to Ott's studies because I used time-lapse to record a change over time. My homage, however, was in the opposite fashion of Ott's because he observed growth and I observed decay. My homage taught me the importance of time-lapse as a scientific tool. Because of Ott's work and the development of time-lapse today, we are able to watch either an entire cycle or part of a cycle in the matter of minutes. This is important in understanding the development of both plants and animals in the scientific field.